We talk to so many people who are relocating to Portland, Oregon, or moving to the Portland metro area from all around the country, and in some cases from all around the world. One of the biggest concerns that we hear from a lot of people is the weather in Portland, in the Pacific Northwest, the rain, the gray, overcast days. Well, in this video, we're going to talk about springtime, one of the most exciting times of the year in Portland and in the Pacific Northwest, and all that starts now. Hey, what's up everybody? This is Paul Clem with the Home Team Brokers coming to you from Portland, Oregon, and yes, with a backwards hat on today. Had to move a little quick today, didn't have time to touch up my hair, threw a hat on, so hope you're not offended. At any rate, in this video, we're going to be talking about springtime in Portland, Oregon. Like I mentioned, one of the most exciting times of the year in Portland because we start finally seeing the sunshine. Things start warming up, things are getting greener, flowers are blooming, and there's a notable energy, that starts to pick up, in particular in the mid to late spring as we start to see a higher and higher quantity of sunny days. Now, before we go any further, if this is your first time to the channel or you've been here and you haven't already and you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. And we've helped so many people move to the Portland metro area, relocate to Portland as real estate professionals. We love to help with that process. So if that's you, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video and schedule a Zoom call with us. Either way, we would love to help with your move to Portland. So many people who are relocating to Portland, to the Portland metro area, really have weather on their list of concerns. Is this going to be something that they can deal with? And especially for people who are coming from sunnier climates, places that have sunshine 300 plus days out of the year, Arizona, California, for example, it's going to be a huge change. So a lot of people, I think, are looking ahead and saying, is that something that I can deal with? And we've done videos on the weather before. I'll link to one right here. Seem to be pretty popular. People do tend to have a lot of curiosity about the weather here. And there's no way to sugarcoat it, right? We get the rain, we get the overcast, we get the gray days, we get the cold for sure. In particular, mid to late fall, up until about mid-spring, we're gonna see a majority of days with overcast and a majority of days with some precipitation, at least. Now, some of the statistics, some of the things you look at online as far as the amount of rain that we get and the amount of rainy days that we get can be a little bit misleading because you can have a day, and especially in the springtime in Portland, where it rains a little bit, that counts as a day with rain, but it might rain for an hour, or it might rain for even half the day, but it might be a little drizzle here and there, little overcast, and then the clouds burn off, and then it's a beautiful sunny day, warms up. So you can get a little bit of both, even in one day, even in the course of a couple of hours where the weather's not great, all of a sudden sun comes out and it's awesome. So, those days that are counted as rainy days, they don't necessarily count towards, as the days with sunshine. So again, some of that can be a little bit misleading, but we're here to talk about in this video, springtime in particular. So springtime in Portland, Oregon, what is that going to look like? Well, spring is probably the season more than the other three that has the most variation, the most variety in terms of what you get and the most transformation and change over time. We've always called it the battle between winter and summer. So you have, kind of these colder weather elements and rain and wind and snow in some cases, fighting against, the coming warmer season, sunshine, nicer, brighter, sunnier days. And so in the spring, in between winter and summer, you get really a mix of everything. Of course, earlier spring, it's going to be a little bit colder. You're going to get more rain and it's going to slowly get nicer and nicer as the spring progresses. But just as an example, and this is really not that much of an anomaly, this year, early April, we broke a record for snowfall in April. It doesn't snow that often in April. You can see a little bit, but we had like a few inches stick on the ground and a couple of legitimate snow days, schools canceled, all of that stuff, people not being able to go into work and everything. And yes, when it does snow here in Portland, everything shuts down. Nobody knows how to drive in the snow. Nobody even tries. So, snow days in Portland are definitely different than a lot of areas of the country where it's really snowy all the time throughout the winter and you just kind of deal with it. And then now here we are mid-May and we're coming into a stretch of 90 to 95 degree days. So that's separated by 5, 6, 7 weeks. You have cold, wintry weather with a bunch of snow on the ground. Fast forward to right now today, and I mean, it really feels like summer. Now, that is one thing I'll mention, that most springs in Portland, you're going to get what we would call a false summer. So there might be a stretch of a couple of weeks, even the better part of a month, where you're getting really nice, consistent sunny weather, some really warm weather in some cases, mid 70s, mid 80s. You do see a lot of that consistently every spring where there are these stretches of nicer weather, but then it almost always drops off a little bit. So, into toward the end of May, around Memorial Day and through June, you're still going to get your share of overcast, gray days and rain. I think most people would say that summer in Portland really doesn't start until the 4th of July. So you got to get all the way through June, and you got to get all the way through spring in the first couple of weeks of summer before we really start to see consistent summer weather. All right, but let's talk about what people are actually doing in the spring. Again, a concern with so many people moving to Portland is that there's only a couple of months of nice weather and sunshine, and you're hunkered down and holed up in your house for the rest of the year, and that's just not the case. So again, spring has its share of some cold, some wet, some wind, some rain, all of that good stuff. But again, spring is really when the sunshine starts coming around. So what are people doing, right? What are some of the activities that people are getting into? What are people most commonly doing in spring, especially once the sun starts coming around? So first and foremost, you have these big festivals, these big fairs that go on the waterfront in Portland. So you have the Cinco de Mayo festival, which has food and some cultural stuff, and you have rides for the kids and games. It's a really good time. And then you have the Rose Festival, which is basically like the Portland City Fair. There's county fairs and state fairs. This is the city fair in Portland. And this goes on for 3 weekends leading up to Memorial Day. Memorial Day is either the opening weekend or the final weekend. I should know that, but it's right there around Memorial Day, the Rose Festival. There's the Rose Festival parade. There's a lot of events around the Rose Festival that are really cool. A lot of history there with the city, something that's gone on continuously for decades. So a really fun time. Rose Festival is a great event to attend in the spring. And you also have smaller little festivals, beer, wine, food festivals, things that go on like that. And just more and more events that are going on that you can get out and attend and enjoy. So there's also the Portland Saturday Market, which is down on the waterfront as well. It's open on Sundays too. You have a lot of farmers markets that are starting to open up in the spring. So the farmers market at Portland State University, I think, is the highest regarded, the most popular, maybe the biggest farmers market. But all around Portland, you have little farmers markets. Most all of the suburbs in Portland have at least one farmers market. So these are things that are going to start popping up, and opening up come springtime. Really popular. And like we talked about, things are starting to bloom and blossom, and everything's getting greener. And so there are areas that you can go out and really experience this, whether you're just getting out and going on a hike, something like that. But there's tulip festivals. There's the Portland Rose Test Garden at Washington Park. Huge rose garden, really beautiful, really cool spot to go walk around, spend an afternoon. You have the cherry blossoms on Waterfront Park. So all up and down the waterfront, you have these cherry trees. They don't fruit, but there are these cherry blossoms that are beautiful, iconic Portland, kind of postcard stuff as far as, representing Portland and Portland imagery. But there's cherry blossoms all around Portland, all around the Portland metro area. So you see these starting to bloom in the spring. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. And if you have a yard, your flowers are going to start blooming. You're going to have to start mowing your lawn. Probably once every about 5 days is about the average. So it goes, to once every couple of weeks in the early spring to once a week, then almost twice a week. And then, as it gets hotter and hotter, starts to taper off a little bit. But lawns grow like crazy here. And also, if you have a garden, I mean, there's a ton of great resources on when to plant what in your garden as far as vegetables, herbs, things like that. And that's a really popular thing that people do here. We have a great climate for growing your own little vegetable garden. Every year is going to be a little bit different as far as, the frost in the morning and everything, but there are great resources online to check that out. Now, part of that conversation with everything getting greener, everything blooming is the pollen and other stuff in the air. And we are in just about as bad a place as any in the country for allergies. I'm lucky enough not to have them. I don't really fully understand the extent of it, but from what you read, what you see, and what I've heard from people, my whole life growing up here is that, allergies get really, really bad in the spring and really, throughout the summer. The Willamette Valley is the grass seed capital of the world. And there's a lot of agriculture, but just, I think anywhere in Portland, anywhere in the Portland metro area, people who have allergies this time of year, it's not going to be great here for you as far as allergies go. And it's probably going to be worse than where you're coming from. Again, at least from everything that I hear. Now, again, this is just a time of year where things start to get a little more lively. Overall, you hear, hey, Portland, Oregon, the Portland metro area, maybe Oregon, the Pacific Northwest in general, it's a beautiful place. But if you're going to go there, if you're going to go check it out, go in the summer because, it can be cold and wet and frankly, at least to some people, a little bit miserable, especially, toward like the dead of winter, but late fall, early spring. It's not great. So, this sunshine and this time of year that, people recommend others go visit Portland, around this time is really starting now in the spring. But again, I would say that if you look at what maybe the expectation is or the stereotype as far as the weather here, I think a lot of people would be very pleasantly surprised when they look at spring as a whole. Again, earlier spring, you're going to be, pushing up against winter a little bit there still. But I would say spring here in Portland is really April, May, June. Spring is definitely going to push through June. And really kind of start around April, when you start seeing things change a little bit, when you start smelling it in the air. And when you look at the precipitation over the course of a year, how much it rains in Portland over the course of a year, we get 36 inches of rain on average, and we get 7 inches of rain on average in the spring between April, May, and June. So the bulk of the rain that we're getting really is in those winter months and definitely through March for sure. And so, you look at that and you look at, okay, it's not necessarily raining all the time. Spring, it's not going to be super warm. You'll get your stretches of warmer days for sure, but it's not like, even by April into May, it's like gray and rainy every single day. So point being is that if there really is a concern, around being in Portland and what the weather is going to be like and having to wear a coat and bundle up all year everywhere you go and having to stay inside all the time, well, really come spring, especially because it has been a little bit cold and wet, coming out of the winter, low 60s to high 60s, blue skies feels incredible. It feels like probably what 80 ends up feeling like, once you get into the summer. So people start wearing shorts, the first day, even if it's in March, the first day that hits like high 50s or 60 and sunny, you walk around, everyone's wearing shorts. It's actually pretty funny. But there is definitely a ton to do in the spring. A lot of the things we talked about, but just day to day. The restaurants are opening up their patios. It's a lot easier to get out to the coast and enjoy the sunshine or get out to the mountain, go for a hike, whatever it may be. It seems like things start to open up, doors start to open up as far as what you can do once the weather gets a little bit nicer, and you don't have to wait till the 4th of July, to start doing some of these activities, even though that's when really summer kind of starts and it's going to be mostly dry and mostly, high 70s to mid 90s in July, August, September. Springtime, I'm telling you, it's great. Probably a little bit underrated. Definitely the most unpredictable season, but at the same time, very tolerable and definitely highly anticipated time of year for a lot of people who live in Portland. So if you're thinking about moving to Portland, moving to the Portland metro area, if you want to talk a little bit more about the weather, how you could get acclimated, you know, what you're able to do or not do, what's going to be comfortable, uncomfortable, or if you just want to talk about areas, neighborhoods, whatever it may be, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video. Schedule a Zoom call with us, and we can talk about what it's like living here, but also your timeline, your budget, you know, what areas might suit you best. Really put together a game plan for, you know, when the time comes, you know, we can really hit the ground running for your move to the Portland metro area. And if this video is helpful, make sure to hit the like button. That helps us out a lot. If you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap that little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. As always, we really appreciate you watching, and until next time, we'll talk to you later.